quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Hello, you're listening to the podcast, So There I Was. It's how all great aviation tales begin. This is episode 178, Hanging Out with the Numbskulls. RePete here. I'm flying alone on the preamble this week simply because Fig had to bag out of the show at about 3/4 of the way through. He toughed it out, hung in with us as long as he could, but he is on the verge of a concussion. He tried to destroy his trailer's tailgate with his forehead this afternoon, and now we're grateful he sat in with us as long as he did. So we hope you're feeling better soon, Fig. Be on the mend, and look forward to chatting with you more next week and find out maybe a little bit about your trip overseas recently. It was a great hangout tonight. We had Mike Evans all the way in from New Zealand, and he was already tomorrow morning, as it were. Dizzy from Boston was with us. Lawman was with us. Deuce was with us. Jim Schaefer. And then Sticks, Bago, Fig, and myself. Badass was not able to join in, but he was able to listen on YouTube. I got a note from him during the show. So this is a wonderful conglomeration, a chance for us to all sit around and tell stories and hang out and have a good time. We hope that you enjoy some of these wonderful stories that were a little behind the scenes of what went on with some of the other stories and some entirely new stories. So good stuff. We hope you enjoy it. We would ask only that you share the show. If you enjoy it, tell somebody else about it so they can enjoy it. And speaking of sharing the show, we had a show swap with Not Just War Stories podcast. The Not Just War Stories podcast with J.D. Welsh is a show that we think you'll like, and he is talking about us on his show, and we were more than happy to talk about his show. He sits down with some amazing individuals most people don't even know about, but should. So hear their amazing stories, everything from combat stories from Afghanistan and Iraq and Grenada, Panama, and even Vietnam, and learn about what went right, what went wrong, and most importantly, some of the lessons learned as they experienced those stories. So we think you'll enjoy that as well. Again, the Not Just War Stories podcast with J.D. Welsh. So it's time for me to get out of the way and let you enjoy a little hangout with the Numbskulls. Here comes episode 178. Don't sit on the ejection seat.
Here's a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit, on the tanker, through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the second So There I Was hangout. It's RePete here at home in New Hampshire, and my co-host Fig, we're lucky to have him tonight. He stepped in front of Pammy's frying pan earlier today, apparently, and barely made it. He's here. He's concussed. He's powering through. How you holding up, brother?
I'm doing all right. And I would really like to have an adult cocktail, but she won't let me drink because of the head injury. So I'm going to power through as long as I can. I got a really bad headache right now.
There you go. All right. Well, we got lots of folks here with us. We got Deuce from, I believe you're in New Jersey. Is that right?
Maryland now.
Maryland now. Okay.
Maryland now. All the fun stuff happened in New Jersey and New Orleans, but yeah, now I'm in the suburbs of DC, enjoying the traffic and the humidity. The three worst things in Washington are June, July, and Congress.
Well, there's that. Gotta love it. Okay, Congress, the opposite of progress. and then we got from down under and across the planet, Mike Evans from New Zealand. Welcome, Mike. Appreciate you being here. Dizzy's in the greater Boston area.
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. And Lawman, thank you for joining us. From where are you broadcasting tonight?
New Bern, North Carolina, near Cherry Point.
All right, very cool.
So you're home. God's country right there.
There you go.
It is beautiful.
Harrier country.
Right on.
Yes, it is. For a little bit longer.
I was going to say for another 10 months, 9 months, something like that. Yeah. And then they're going to flame out VMA 223, the last active duty Harrier squadron.
It's the last attack squadron, right?
Yeah.
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 Period.
That's right. The
Yeah,
last
well-
attack squadron in the Marine Corps. After that's fighter attack. So my question is, Lawman, do you know, are they still sending new lieutenants from flight school to 223 to become Harrier?
No, I think that's all done now. Yeah. I think they trained the last 2 guys, maybe last year, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Well, very
no
cool.
newbies. Yeah.
No, that'll be neat to be able to say you flew that, and then they're all going on, I assume, to the F-35. But yeah. So
Well, do we have confirmation that 223 is going to transition, or are they going to like sunset it?
I'm pretty certain they're scheduled to transition to F-35s. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, that
I'm
warms
pretty-
the cockles of my heart. Thank you,
We'll,
sir, for letting me know that.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a meeting scheduled with the 223 seat. They just got back from a det, so I got a meeting hopefully here soon to sit down face to face and talk with the skipper. So
Okay. Very
I'll
cool.
let you know the outcome of that. Yeah.
That'd be
All
great.
right. Well,
We did get an email from Porky, the XO at 223, inviting us to come down for I like to call it the flame out party. So, but it's not really a flame out if they're going to transition to another airplane.
You got to get Porky on the show then.
Yeah,
Our
absolutely.
skipper,
yeah, we are planning. The Newtons are planning on spending the better part of a week there for the festivities.
Wow.
Ditto.
Okay.
So I
Ditto.
look forward to maybe breaking some bread with you, Lawman.
Yeah, we'll do that. Definitely get together,
Yeah.
have some dinner and stuff. You bet.
And I can only imagine some of the legends will be able to get in front of a microphone and get some stories. Get some stories. So
I think
All right.
Lawman's probably still got quite a few stories to tell. I must say that I really enjoyed his episodes, and yeah, I think there should be sort of more to be tapped from the well, I think.
Yeah, I probably got a few, including some about some of the guys been on the show. I flew a lot with Gallo, so I've got stories about Gallo, Joe
Yep.
Anderson.
yeah.
I
Nightmare. I
would
flew with Nightmare. I flew with Ed Green, Otto.
Yep.
So I got some stories about those guys too. My escapades with those former Bumblebee pilots.
Do you feel comfortable sharing that story about Gallo that you shared with me, or is that offline only?
That's fine. I think Gallo.
Okay. So statute of limitations is up.
The air show story.
let's hear
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay.
I
can't
hadn't planned
wait
on
to
it,
hear
but yeah. So I was the first lieutenant, 331, new guy, and Joe Anderson, Gallo, was the skipper, commanding officer, and he found out that Lieutenant Hancock didn't drink alcohol, and he thought this would be a pretty good wingman to have along. He's always got a sober duty driver, which is not a bad idea. And I'll tell you,
Right.
not just for Gallo, I drove a lot of drunk Marines and some sailors around the world. Because they always knew that Lawman would be sober, either herd him back to the boat or get him in a car or get him somewhere. So it wasn't just Gallo. I got tagged to go on an air show weekend with him. It was Maxwell Air Force Base. And we got there. We went to his mother-in-law and father-in-law lived there, I think retired Navy captain. So we went to their place somewhere near, out in town and met with family members. So it's kind of like a reunion for Gallo. And they were up all night. I think his brother was there. His mother was there. I got to meet a lot of the Andersons and, of course, the in-laws. And they were up pretty late having a good time. Well, I fell asleep on the couch. I was in my flight suit. So I was supposed to be driving Gallo back to the BOQ that night. And we had a piece of shit U.S. Air Force, blue sedan car they'd given us. Not one of the
A car,
fancy
probably.
rental car. Yeah, it was a staff car. We had these, standard kind of BOQ rooms, nothing fancy. We hang out with the in-laws and the family, and then I fell asleep back. I kept asking the skipper, "Hey, you ready to go back to the BOQ?" "No, I'm good, Lawman." He was having a good time with the family, drinking a little bit of scotch, and
At a time.
and so I fell asleep on the couch. I crashed on his mother-in-law's couch, and about 6 o'clock that morning, Gallo wakes me up. "Hey, Lawman, let's go." So I'm not saying whether he had any sleep or not, but he was wide awake in his bag still, in the green flight suit. Roused me out, and we got in that staff car, and we drove to the brief, the air show brief at the air base, base ops. And it was raining cats and dogs. And I was thinking probably pretty good because Gallo had been up all night having a good time. And so then probably a good idea, we're not flying anyway. So we get to the brief, they do the brief. Nobody's flying. It's the Thunderbirds are there. It was Friday practice show, and it was Special Citizens Day. So they had disabled citizens and other folks out there, Make-A-Wish, I think, something like that. And nobody was flying. Everybody's miserable. It was wet and cold, and nobody flew. Thunderbirds took off in one jet, two-seater with media, disappeared in the clouds, came back an hour later on like an ILS straight-in. So the Air Force is losing. Go, can anybody fly? Can anybody fly in this weather? And Gallo says, I can fly. I go, what? I go, really? I'm thinking, holy cow. And so Gallo suited up, taxied out, and in the rain, I'm talking about maybe 200-foot overcast and maybe a half a mile viz, if that. And he had a clean, stripped-down day attack Harrier jet, 406 engine. And we took the pylons off that jet. It was an air show machine. And I got up on the stand, and you still got me. I lost you on the video there. So.
We got you.
Yeah, we got
okay,
you.
Good. So I go up on a stand to narrate because I had a script from MAG 32. The group headquarters gave me a script. It's my first time ever, narrating the Harrier Level 3 demonstration flight. So I got my script. Gallo taxis out, and he takes off and immediately rolls up on a wing, does a bad turn away from the crowd, belly up. I thought he was going to scrape a dang wingtip on the ground. He was so low. Disappears out in front of the crowd. Comes back around for a high-speed pass. No in-flight refueling probe, no pylons, a clean Harrier jet, and all that water. He was a vapor. He was a cloud of vapes coming by, probably about 100-foot AGL, hair on fire. And I'm trying to narrate this high-speed pass, and he pitches up just a little bit because the clouds are about 200 feet, and he does a tuck-under roll. He literally rolls the jet, does a tuck-under roll, and pulls downwind under high G. I'm going, what the hell was that? I go, and that was a tuck under roll by Lieutenant Colonel Anderson. I go, where's the script? I go, I basically threw the script away. He did I'll tell you what, as a Harrier guy, even though I was a lieutenant, it was eye-watering. I had chills. I had goosebumps on my arms watching them fly this tight show. A couple high-speed passes, burn down some gas, do the V-stall work. And he told me, Lawman, you don't talk to me. I had my survival radio with me. He goes, have your radio in case I have a problem with the jet. But don't call me unless you see me going through about 20 feet with my gear up for an unintentional gear up. Otherwise, I don't want to hear from you. So he's hovering gear up. And he's doing pedal turns gear up. And he finally started to land. And thank God his gear came down. But while he was doing the hover work, two guys in suits come up on the platform with umbrellas. And they say, we're with the FAA. And that guy needs to land right away. Get him on the ground. He's violating every rule we have on air shows. So too close to the crowd, too low, too fast, too funny, whatever. So I'm not going to call Gallo and say, hey, sir, the feds are on the platform and they're demanding that you land your jet right now. He told me not to call him. I'm not going to call him. So he finished the show. He landed, and the feds say, hey, we want to see this guy as soon as he gets out on the ground. We need to see him. You guys are done. So I'm like, here we go. We're going to be packing our bags, going back to Cherry Point. He lands. The crowd's going nuts. The crowd that was there, they loved him. He was a hero, and the Air Force loved him because he kind of saved the media day. He was the only one that flew. So he taxis in, shuts down. They whisk him away. We go to base ops. The FAA, a couple of generals and some colonels, and Lieutenant Colonel Joe Anderson disappear into the briefing room. I thought, we're done. We're going home. They all come out, smiling, patting him on the back. He's a friggin' hero. The FAA, the Air Force convinced him to leave him alone. Some kind of deal was made in there, closed doors deal. And we got a brand new rental car, like a convertible, out of that deal. And we got sent downtown to nice hotel rooms, no longer in the BOQ, because Joe Anderson was the friggin' he was the hero that day. I tell you what, I was nervous. Don't give him a blood test. Don't take blood.
That's what I was wondering. Like, woof. 104 is pretty low.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's a former test pilot. Gallo was a Phantom pilot in Vietnam, was a test pilot, and the guy could fly a jet. And he was still, Lieutenant Colonel, still young, and he was pushing it. I got to tell you, he was pushing the envelope in terms of speed and altitude, even for a Harrier. It was eye-watering. And I tell
impressive.
You what, anybody else, I think, would have been sent home. But he's also pretty slick. His mother actually told me that he's a golden-tongued devil. His mother told me that. So he was able to, whatever he said behind that closed door, got him off the hook, or the Air Force got him off the hook, and we were instantaneous heroes instead of being pack your bags and go back to Cherry Point from whence you came.
Heroes or zeros, man. Heroes or zeros.
That was my
Great
first air
story.
show with Joe, with Gallo. Pretty eye-watering, to say the least.
What do you think are the odds it turns out differently depending on the rank of the pilot involved?
That's a great point. I think that's a great question. I think had it been a JO, a captain, maybe even a major, I think it would have been a different outcome possibly. Again, I don't know what happened. I wish I'd have been inside that room because they went in determined to violate him. The FAA was going to violate him, and we were done. And they all came out smiling, shaking hands. I've seen that
When you
act
say
years
violate,
later.
can you just qualify that? Because violate? It's got a
Violate
different
means-
meaning down here.
Yeah, so
Well, they were going to do that too.
well, I think it's probably way past the statute of limitations for the FAA to take any action against Gallo now, but because that would have been back in the late '80s. But yeah, the FAA, they're at all these air shows, and you violate one of the FAR's regulations concerning distance from the crowd, energy directed towards the crowd, altitude, things like that. They will shut you down and possibly, put your certificate on the line. So you can, even as an airshow pilot, you got to play by the rules, whatever the FAA. Now, I'll tell you this with the Blue Angels, when I was there were very few rules. We had very few handcuffs. We had a lot of latitude, if you will, compared to some other airshow performers. I don't know why that was. One thing, maybe because the Blues had never injured a spectator in the entire history of the team, have ever injured a single spectator. The only ones that have been put at risk or killed were Blue Angel pilots. So maybe there's a good history. But we had a lot of latitude I think other people didn't have. But even the Blues, there's certain rules you got to abide by at air show. Thunderbird, same thing, that because the feds they'll shut you down.
I forget which team it was, but they had I want to say, I think it was the Italian team that crashed into the crowd. It was about 20 years ago now.
Ramstein Air Force Base. Yeah, that was Ramstein. It was the Italian team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I believe. Yeah, it was and that was energy directed towards the crowd, a midair collision, and of course the debris and the fireball that came down outside of the aerobatic box that caused all the injuries and deaths on the ground.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot
the
of
rules
changed
after that, right?
There was a lot more emphasis on what they call taking away energy directed towards the crowd, where you're doing a maneuver where if you had a midair or hit the ground, your energy and debris fireball pattern is going to continue on into the crowd versus parallel to the pad. If you crash inside the aerobatic box, typically, and on the air show flight line, left to right, typically that debris pattern will stay in the aerobatic box. I'll tell you, on top of that, we were, I want to say, Detroit, my first year on the team, 1994, and Captain America was his, I think, air show call sign, had crashed, probably a vintage F-86.
Oh, I remember
Air Force
that.
jet.
Woody talked to him like 2 weeks before that happened, too.
Yeah. So he was a great performer, had a great reputation, had a beautiful. It was painted in the paint scheme of the Air Force Thunderbirds. It was a beautiful jet, either an F-84 or an F-86. I can't recall now. I had to go back.
I think it was a 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So nice jet, great performer, great reputation, but we weren't there. We were briefing. So the Blues, we were the last act. He was the last act before us, and or one of the last acts, and he was doing a low roll, and apparently bottomed out too low on the backside, and he went in right in front of the crowd in a fireball, probably about 400 knots, 350 knots.
Yeah.
Killed, no ejection, and was killed instantaneously in a huge fireball. The crash fire rescue came and responded immediately, and the crowd stayed. They didn't shut down the show right away, but we had an unusual knock on the door during our brief, and the FAA came and said, "Hey, we just had a fatal mishap." Described what happened. And the FAA gave us put the decision on our laps. You guys want to fly or not? The crowd is still here. If you want to fly, it's up to you. So they put in our laps. You want to go out there and fly a show? So we talked about it, and we all thought, hey, if I were to die at an air show myself, I wouldn't want the rest of the show to be shut down. Go ahead and fly. I would love for you to fly. Fly in tribute to me or whoever was killed. No, that's my thoughts on it was, let the show continue as long as there's nothing unsafe towards spectators. If we can continue to fly a safe air show and a professional demonstration, let's do it. So the team voted and we flew. And I remember we taxied by. There were still burning, smoldering wreckage and grass in the infield, and we taxied by Captain America's wreckage and flew a demonstration. And I consider that a tribute to another air show performer. But yeah, crazy stuff.
So that was the Free Sea Tricolori, which I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but the Tricolor Arrows was with the group that had the crash in Germany. And they were doing
the Italian
piercing
team.
Yeah, they were doing a piercing the heart maneuver where the guy that was coming through to pierce the heart was too low and intercepted with the two opposing aircraft that were coming in opposite directions towards them.
Yeah, it looks like a really dynamic maneuver, no doubt about it. I'm sure very complex, very little room for error.
All this cheerful conversation makes your mishap seem a lot less dramatic now, Fig. You just hit a trailer with your face.
Yeah, but is the trailer okay?
Continue loading the trailer. Did the show go on?
No fireball. Yeah.
Hey, I have to ask, because it's now I can't see anything else, Lawman. Over your left shoulder on the second shelf up, it looks like you've got a set of testicles hanging in a What is it? Is that testicle? What the fuck is that?
I got that. Unfortunately, it's only second place. It was a local run that some Prowler guy and his family kind of sponsor, and they call it the Scrot Trot. I have no idea how they came up with that. And
so it is
2004.
What is it? 3 laps around the junkyard?
2024. It was a 2-mile run, and I'll tell you, the only guy that beat me was an Army lieutenant, infantry officer.
Holy shit.
But I got beat by a lieutenant who was home from Germany on leave. Otherwise, I would have won the damn thing. I would have had first place. And maybe first place were bigger testicles. I don't know, bigger ones. Because they're kind of small.
All right.
Well,
sorry to...
the second place prize is better than the first place prize. You know, I don't want to think about what the first place prize is.
No.
I should have taken it down. Good eye
it's
there,
saggy.
Big.
They look kind of saggy.
Balls. They are saggy balls, yeah. They're not made
I
out
can
of
relate
brass.
to that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
As the air conditioning kicks in, they move up higher on the shelf, and then
that's right.
Yeah. I probably should remove those for my grandkids see them. I don't know. Get rid of them.
Well, we did have G on, and she had to tell her kids. She'll tell them older how she got the call sign G spot. So
there you go. Yeah, that's a good one there. Yeah, it's colorful. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So hey, something you mentioned just almost in passing, and there was some. I can't imagine doing this with social media, but the consternation over the Blues canceling a couple weeks ago up here for the local show.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if they'd have just flown earlier in the morning, we could have seen them. You know, it's like, so why did the Blues go last?
Was it because of weather?
They rained out. So, but if they'd gone in the morning, you know, they could have flown. You know, because all these weather experts in the crowd.
I'm not much of a pilot, but I'm a theater guy. I ain't following that act.
Yeah,
that'd be nuts.
Right.
I think it's probably the same. I'm going to guess for the Thunderbirds too. Typically, only time I've seen the Thunderbirds fly and not be the last performer was when they flew with the Blue Angels down in Pensacola. Of course they went first, and then the Blues flew. We did the practice show in Nellis Air Force Base with Thunderbirds, and they flew first, and then we flew. So I don't know, but I think great point there about maybe it's part of the contract or. And in a lot of cases, maybe it's a difficult act to follow. You know, I mean, not because we're any better, but, you know, it's 6 jets. It's loud. It's dynamic. It's hard to get past the visuals and the noise, if you will, of 6 airplanes performing versus just one. I'm just saying that, you know, there's some great performers that could be great last acts. Not just the Blues or the Thunderbirds, but
I just always made the assumption that it was because the crowd would leave. Half the crowd would go away after the Blues.
No, they would.
Yeah, maybe they want
it's the finale.
Stay and buy more beer and hot dogs and souvenirs. You know.
Yeah.
So could be. But we always flew last, and I'm pretty sure we flew last every show everyone was at.
Yeah.
How'd you like to be that MC? And following the Air Force Thunderbirds, here comes Steve in a Ford Trimotor.
Yeah, it'd be hard to follow that act. Yeah.
So fantastic. Oh, awesome. Well, I noticed I hadn't reached out to Jim Schaefer here yet tonight, but we've got Colonel Schaefer's here with us, one of the first V22 program managers, and I'm not able to find his episode. Sticks, if you could find it, I would be most grateful. He was the gent that was a CH-53 pilot and was So
give me a moment.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Jim, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. So I want to ask you real quick about a little bit about the V22 program. How is it you wound up getting involved in that, and how long did you stay with that?
Well, I tell you, first of all, I like to talk about Joe Anderson because he was a really shitty golfer. And I played golf with him since '86 and introduced him to the Army Navy Country Club, and he's still playing there today.
Nice.
So,
I played a lot of golf with Gallo too. Yeah. Small world. Yeah.
By the way, Gallo was Julio and Ernesto.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I met them both, unfortunately.
In Vietnam, right?
Unfortunately, in Virginia.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think he told us that story on the first show we had him on with us. Was how he became he was one of the Gallo brothers.
That's right.
Fantastic. So, yeah, could you tell us about the 22 program? When did you come onto that program, and tell us a little bit about how that developed? Because
I was the third program manager. Coming on, I was appointed by the former program manager, Harry Blott, and I lived there for 4 years and watched the first airplane fly. I got to fly the first V-22. And Chuck Pittman was my boss at the time.
Okay.
He thought he could outdo me, and I unfortunately got 1/10 of an hour more than he did, so the hell with him. But unfortunately, he has passed away, and I love the guy greatly.
Yeah, that was sad indeed. Okay, so how long was that job? How long were you the program manager for the
probably
Osprey?
4 years.
Okay,
I thought I was going to go back to the fleet, and unfortunately, they said I was going to be the PM for V-22, and so I started in 1989 and was there till well past 93 when I retired.
Nice.
Wow. So that you started that program manager job in 1989.
That's right.
Is that correct? And when did that aircraft actually make it to the fleet?
It actually made the fleet probably in 97, 98. And then they had the Mariana incident. And then there was a series of incidents where nobody understood what a V-22 or tiltrotor aircraft could do. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, it became one of the mainstay aircraft in the fleet. Today, replacing the 46 via various numbers, but it was a very successful implementation to the fleet.
It's still too much like a rotary wing airplane. Terrifies me.
One crashed in front of me while we were standing in formation when I was at an OCS in the Potomac River. It was a test bird, and it was doing pattern work right there in Quantico, and it crashed. And I said to myself, that's I don't want anything to do with that.
Unfortunately, I was the CEO or the program manager, and I was there at the time. Shit. I remember going down, and the guy kept calling me up and saying the airplane crashed in the Potomac. It was coming back from hermetic testing in Eglin Air Force Base. And then when it finally came around, it did the tour down the Potomac, and then it was started to tilt water up, and the oil that had from the seals had seeped into the forward cavity, sucked back into the engine, and caused the one engine to flame out.
What kind of testing did you say was hermetic? Hermetic
Yeah, it
testing?
was the formal testing for ice, heat, and hermetic conditions down in Eglin Air Force Base in the hangar.
Oh, be darn.
Is that to be a hermit? Like they send you out in the woods to be a monastic and study, think big philosophical thoughts, hermetic testing?
It was done in a hangar in a controlled environment, which they froze the aircraft, heated the aircraft up to about 120 degrees, froze it down to, I don't think it was like about minus 50 degrees. I remember going out there one day to see it, how I was doing in the cold test, and I had my Core Fam shoes on, and they cracked.
Oh, nice. A little chilly.
It was real chilly. I remember climbing in there with a cold suit on, and then we went through the startup and through the procedures, and then we went back down and climbed out of there, and I thought, that was really cold. I looked at my shoes. They were cracked beyond belief.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Well, so now we know what the limitation of core frames are, right?
Oh, they're not good.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Jim, just on the V-22. It was one of the reasons that I came on today was just to ask the question, and I thought Styx might have known it, but with regards to that aircraft, is there a traditional sort of move through translation, translational flight like a helicopter, or is it quite different?
Actually, it's very similar to a helicopter in takeoff, but quite different in fixed-wing flight. It actually fly about, 300 knots, I think. It may be reduced by now, but I think it was 300 knots. In vertical mode, it would do up to 90 knots, transitioning to forward flight as you tilted the nacelles forward. But it was very nice and comfortable to fly.
Yeah. If I can jump
Yeah,
into,
I just wondered whether it had
Oh,
the same efficiencies through translation. That was all.
It had very similar transitions to forward flight. It was very smooth.
Okay.
Lawman,
you got some time in that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to interject a couple of things. One, I wanted to ask Jim about, he must know General Walters, Bluto, who was...
yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
I think Bluto was a great guy. He was a funny guy. So he was my commanding general forward with 2nd Mall. And I want to say he was very instrumental in kind of saving the MV-22 program when they put him in as a colonel in charge of the unit down in New River. So he kind of resurrected. He was a Cobra guy by trade, but a test pilot and a smart guy. He's the president of the Citadel right now.
That's correct.
And
He is.
Retired Assistant Commandant Marine Corps, 4-star. So not just a very, very smart guy, but funny too, witty, had a good sense of humor. But he allowed me to fly everything over there in 2nd Mall forward in Afghanistan, including the MV-22. So as a Harrier guy, I'll tell you this right off the bat, I was not a fan of the airplane just because of the reputation, the mishaps. Was a little bit, even as a Harrier guy, Harrier guys can't.
That thing looks dangerous.
Looks dangerous. But in the Harrier, you can eject, right?
Yeah.
In the Harrier, you got a chance. At least you got a chance to roll the dice, pull the handle. Things don't go well mechanically or pilot error. MV-22, like all the helicopters, you're riding that baby in, whether it's material failure or somebody makes a mistake in the cockpit. So the reputation wasn't great, I'll be honest with you. And we were the first, 2nd Mall forward in 2011, we were the first ones to use it operationally. So it was the first time really being deployed operationally as a full unit. When I went and flew it, and I'll tell you, as a Harrier guy, it was a great airplane. I became a big fan of the MV-22
Awesome.
in Afghanistan. I got about 32, 33 hours in the MV-22, all in Afghanistan. It's a very nimble airplane, flies very nice. Better cockpit design than the Harrier in terms of your left hand. No water injection, not to worry about water flow. Your hand stayed on the throttle. You can move the nacelles either 1 degree at a time, beat the nacelles or the rotor blades, or you can run them. They hovered lower like 20 feet. But you and RePete, you guys could fly the MV-20. If I put you in an airplane tomorrow, you could take off vertically, do an accel, decel back to a pad, do some pedal turns, box turns. I'm telling you, you would say, hey, okay, what's the big deal? It really is a nice airplane to fly.
So there's no, is there a collective? Like in a
No, you have
helicopter?
each pilot's got a stick. So you got a stick and a throttle. You got a big throttle in your left hand. And then the cells are rest on a thumb wheel that goes fore and aft. And you run the thumb wheel with your thumb to beep or run the nacelles up and down.
So it's like electric trim.
Kind of like, yeah. So your hand stays on the throttle and you run the nacelles while your hands on it. You know, like the Harrier where you're going nozzle power, throttle, nozzle,
back and
control
forth,
lever,
back and forth.
back and forth, and making sure hopefully you have your hand on the right lever.
It wasn't
so
quite that
22, I thought, and another thing too, there's no power bounce. My first mistake on the vertical landing was, as a Harrier guy, was snatching the power to idle on weight on wheels, and you don't do that. I found that in the MV-22. There's no need to do an idle power snatch. So, oops, I got a little bounce there. So, but I became a fan of the
does
airplane.
it bounce if you do that?
It'll if you do that, yeah, you'll get a bounce. It won't be a pretty landing. You can milk it down nice and easy. Weight on wheels, just kind of pull the power off nice and easy, and settle down on the wheels. Okay. I will say that it does. You can take off vertically, kicks up a lot of dust like anything else in brownout. But then you're like Jim says, you're flying over the battlefield. I want to say about 270, 280 is what we were typically doing indicated. So about C-130 speed over the battlefield, and you're higher. Right. Above small arms fire, you're not down in the weeds like the helicopters would typically be. So pretty good. And I think a lot of grunts when I was there, including the wing, that's going to be the MEF commanding general, who was a 3-star general, became a big fan of the MV-22 just because of the versatility of being able to take off and land vertically like a helicopter, going almost any place, and then transit the battlefield, the battle space at C-130 speed. It was pretty cool. So.
Okay.
One of the other issues is that I may add is the fact that the V-22 is a much better accident rate than the CH-46, its replacement, by about 3 to 1.
Oh, no kidding!
Wow.
I'm surprised, but that's good news. Yeah, I will say I do know that, like the Harrier, there's some trade-offs when you do V-stall and STOVL, and that is maintenance. It's quite a feat to see those young Marines on top of that airplane. And they wear, unlike Harrier guys, because they're pretty high up sometimes on the wing, working on the engines, they're wearing like safety
harnesses?
vests, harnesses, yeah. They're strapped in. So if you fall, you're going to be tethered. You're not going to fall off the wing right to the ramp or the flight
and
deck.
hit your forehead on the tailgate of the maintenance trailer.
It'd be like Fig, yeah. Fig, you got to wear a safety harness when you're working on your boat, whatever you're doing.
I need to have a cranial. If I had a cranial on, I would have been okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So that's episode 126. Beautiful. Okay. Just fucking beautiful.
That's it.
Yeah. So, they're good Marines, by the way, and they're all damn good Marines.
It's amazing. It really is. What a privilege to have served with the Marines.
So picking up on the V-22, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe over a month ago, we had the Marine Corps 250 visit here in Boston, which 22 flew in, 53 Echo, a Venom and a Viper helicopter, assorted Humvees, 50 calibers, 40 millimeters, and all that stuff were on the Boston Common. And of course, City of Boston did a reverse 911 to all the people that lived around there. So I know RePete, the Boston Common, Public Garden, probably other guys, right? But nobody on the ground knew it. So that made for a little bit of an inch. What the hell is this? Ooh. Right? All of a sudden, the troops are coming. So I went there the next day, and I said, I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while. I went to Morning Colors over at City Hall.
Okay.
So, the trumpeter comes out, the PFCs, they put the flag around the pole, and then the kid puts the crank in to, crank up the flag, except one of the lanyards is below the crank. So he starts cranking. He ain't going anywhere fast. And out of the corner of my eye, I see the sergeant going, that look like, oh, somebody's going to get chewed later. So after that, I went back over to the common and went to the 22, and I was talking to one of the pilots of it, and I said, geez, impressive. So you want to get into the cockpit? Sure. I got into the. How the hell you fit into this thing? And I asked him, says, so this doesn't have a collective like a helicopter? And he said, oh no, it's got the regular stick and throttle, and pretty much explained it. And I says, honestly, I've flown in helicopters. I says, still too many moving parts here that can go wrong. I said, oh no, we got a good safety record now. We're building up a good safety record. I said, okay. But, I'm like thinking, and I took pictures. I don't know what the bureau number was and how old the V-22, but I said, Jesus, this thing has been beaten to death already.
Well, it's probably 2-3 weeks old then if it's a Marine bird.
Yeah. So then, okay, I'll drift over to the 53E, right? And I says, oh, how come you guys didn't come in with a kilo model? Oh, we only got about 10 of those, and they're still in, warm-ups and whatnot. And I'm walking around, and one of the landing gear is already sunk into the ground. I says, oh, this is going to be fun when it takes off. I said, okay. And that was surprising. The 22 was fine. Perfect. Didn't sink in, didn't do anything. But, one half, okay. And the next day I went there with my girlfriend. We were walking around, and, take a picture in front of the 53. So I did. And she looks into the cockpit window, and all she sees is white spaghetti wire everywhere. I says, is that what's in an air helicopter? Says, oh yeah, miles upon wires. But it looks like it's so don't worry, it's fine. Every wire's in its right place, I think. But she was like, oh my God. Says, what do you think's in a real plane? You just got to look behind the cockpit, and you'll see, the thing, you'll see all those wires hanging out. So we see like, don't worry, everything's safe. Right, guys? Right. But it was a pretty good show. I mean, they had nice helicopters. The driver of the Zulu Cobra, she was nice looking.
Maybe that's what we're getting in DC now. We've got the National Guard downtown in DC, which is just with Humvees and every other thing. It's just the world's worst air show.
Well,
that's
the thing is,
there you go.
The thing was, a couple of days before the Marines showed up, DC, someone in DC made a threat that they're going to send the troops here and whatnot. So it was like, this is going to be one of those sort of PR nightmares. I mean, it worked out. The place was packed with kids, which is good. They all got to see all the helicopters, try out 50, cocking a 50 caliber machine gun. They were doing a competition of how many chin-ups you could do. And, if you did this many, you got this. You did this many, like, okay, I can't even do one nowadays. But it's like, okay. Well, yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I know they usually come every year there.
Yep. They had harness out of cars. Well, they were up here near us, but they were flying around down there too. And then you mentioned briefly the CH-53 Kilo, the King Stallion. So there's a photo of that thing, hauling around an F-35. And I think it was Bago that first gave us the photo of that CH-53 Kilo hauling an F-35 and refueling at the same time.
Let's try to teach the F-35 how to fly.
Yeah.
They tandem jumping.
So, Deuce, you remember what it felt like when you had the 65 sitting next to the 53?
Oh, we were at some training thing talking about rotor downwash, remember? And and Matt was there. He was a 53 driver. We came over from the Marine Corps, he's a 53 driver, and we're like, oh, you got to worry about like knocking over outhouses. He's like, yeah, just don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
Man.
No, that just dwarfed Tupperwolf. So,
well, and I think the Kilo dwarfs the Echo substantially. I don't know those dimensions on it, but I do know that it's a much larger airplane. Tell you what, I'd like to take a minute and a half and tell everybody here about another podcast, because if you like our show, well, Fig and I think you're really going to like this one. Not Just War Stories with J.D. Welsh. From Air Force Special Warfare Airmen like TAC-Ps, CCTs, and PJs to U.S. Air Force and U.S. Army aviators, from light mechanized armor and airborne infantry to Rangers, SEALs, Marines, and Special Forces ODAs. This is a chronicling of humorous, interesting, and harrowing first-hand accounts of combat operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Grenada, Panama, and Vietnam. What worked, what failed, and more importantly, what it taught them. You'll also hear from military historians and authors like Jason and Erica Redmond, Ethan Brown, Steve Call, Wells Jones, Roger Newman, Josh Howe, and Alexander Lemons. Guests also include leaders of veteran support organizations like the TAC-P Foundation, Northwest Battle Buddies, Clear Path for Veterans, and Surf Brigade. JD sits down with extraordinary individuals most people don't know, but should, and listens to their amazing stories about war and other things. These are not just war stories. Listen, like, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Rumble, or YouTube. Not Just War Stories with J.D. Welsh. All right, so we're doing a show swap with him. He's going to be talking about us, and if you are so inclined and you're listening to this and you like what you're hearing, why don't you tell somebody else, please? Let them know that we've got a good show here and you like listening to it. Let them like listening to it as well. So yeah, let's, we were wandering into some helicopter aerodynamics there, terrifying as it may be. What was the Tupper Wolf? That was 2 engines, right? Or was it 3?
Yeah, there's 2. No, there's 2 engines.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it started off life with an LTS 101, which was the Sherman tank engine.
Okay.
The height of 1940s technology.
Yeah. That was to make up for the making it 51% American components. So, and then when we transitioned over to the Charlie model, that was fucking awesome. You know, that was a huge game changer.
The LTS 101 had a pneumatic hydrodynamic control system that would occasionally just spring a leak and roll one engine back. Perfectly functional engine, but just roll it back. And
wasn't that the transmission in Edsel or something like that?
It seemed like it was close. They had to deregulate it. I think they had to deregulate it in order to accommodate the transmission issues. But we would get these high side or low side governor failures. And then you'd have to go through this whole troubleshooting procedure. If you had a high side failure, it's kind of maybe preferable, but you're going to be coming in on a high speed approach. And we would in practice, that actually was kind of fun to do, but it could be interesting. So
all I know is I'd been there I don't know, it felt like 4 months. And we're just doing night pattern work. I'm getting used to the goggles, just doing night pattern work. And then with Bill Bay, if you remember the professor.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
The professor.
Every training flight with him, it was 2 hours of Quiz the Wizard, and then you'd get in the airplane.
Right.
And we land, and I looked down, and there was chiclet lights, right? Pairs of rows of chiclet lights, and one set had gone almost completely out because one of the engines just rolled back. So we're on the ground, and I look and I go, hey, how come there's only one set of lights? And he's like, ruh-roh. And we got to ride home in a truck that day. So.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Gunny's story when he was flight instructing in Pensacola, and he had the student going around the pattern. And he says, "You guys, I just need one good pass from you, and then, you'll have it complete." And he says, we're on downwind, and he says, looks at him and goes, all right, I've got the airplane. Takes the airplane, auto rotates in and goes, you notice anything wrong here?
Yeah.
Or no, he's like, what, did I do something wrong? He goes,
wrong?
Well, look around, see if you notice anything wrong. He looks down, he goes, oh yeah, the tachometer's broken.
It's broken.
Goes, no, I think the tachometer's working. Did the engine quit? It did. And one of us noticed it.
One of us noticed it. How many pilots do you need to notice that?
That's right.
Yeah. No, that was
Gunny's story.
Yeah. So Deuce, you remember, so this is going back a little bit, but do you remember the flight where we took the guy from the Baltimore Aquarium out when we were doing a law enforcement patrol?
No. Baltimore Aquarium?
Yeah, I was thinking.
Man,
I thought it was.
That's my
I thought it
stomping ground.
was. I thought it was with you because we like saw this colossal pod of dolphins.
Oh, nice. No, I didn't see a lot of dolphins, but we always, whenever we'd pass a shark, we'd always point it out to the rescue swimmer, like, man, look at the size of that thing. Boy, I wouldn't go swimming with that stuff.
Yeah.
So, in case you're curious when the crew is allowed to curse out the pilots, that apparently is an acceptable time.
Yeah, and there you go.
But I got to figure out how to share a picture because I got a picture that the people on this phone call will appreciate. I don't know how to do it.
There should be a bar at the bottom that says share. Your other option is to text it to me, and I could probably
give me a second to figure it out.
Yeah, but play with it a little bit. So
because you want to see this. Oh, there we go.
But anyways, to sort of like, so I was out doing this fisheries patrol and we had a representative from the Baltimore Aquarium with us, and I'm not kidding when I tell you we ran across this pod of dolphins that was probably about a quarter mile wide, and we were making about 110 knots, and it ultimately slowed down because we opened up the sliding door. But for about 15 minutes, we were flying over this pod of dolphins, just watching this. Wow. So it probably was about 4 to 5 miles in length, and they were hauling ass. They were just making their way southwest. It was like, I was almost half wondering if it was like the apocalypse coming because it was just, it was unbelievable. Never seen anything like it. So
actually, this is the wrong aircraft, but I'm gonna put this picture up for everybody. Oh, now I've done it. Never mind. I'll text it to RePete because I clearly cannot manage this. But I was down in Mobile. I was in Pensacola just a few weeks ago, and got this picture. Let me just figure out how to make it work.
Okay. That'll actually work out well that you send it to me anyway, and I'll put it in the blog post on sothereiwas.us, and that's going to be sothereiwas.us/episode/178. So,
just quick comment for the jet guys versus the helo bobbers. Now, God bless Marine Corps helo. Can't survive a day in the Marine Corps without helicopters, but were you guys able to keep up with the dolphins in that helo, or?
yeah, we were. I was making and it was a Coast Guard helicopter, so of course it was,
you guys are faster.
Just remember, all you jet pilots look the same to me: cold, wet, tired, and happy when you're sitting on my hoist hook.
Oh, yeah, God bless the Coast Guard, and you need to get picked up, no doubt about it.
Yep.
Hey, I did my initial helicopter training in a Robinson 22 and got beat down I-10. Like cars were passing me on. I'm flying down I-10, and they're just. So,
wow.
That stings. That stings when you talk about how slow the dolphin is.
Us Harrier guys spend a lot of time on amphib ships with predominantly helicopter pilots, right? 6 Harrier jets, 9 pilots, amongst maybe 70, 80 helicopter pilots, skid guys, 53s, now MV-22s, but we were always minority. It was always that good-natured headbutting between the helo bubbas and the jet guys, and usually the helo guys, beating up on the jet guys, right? Fig's probably seen that, RePete.
Yeah.
But I had I say good fortune when I was a young captain with VMA 131 able to grow to fly a 53 Delta from Tustin all the way to Philadelphia. Did I tell you about that?
No.
The co-pilot. It was at the end of a CAX. We did an 8-week CAX, reserve CAX.
Oh.
And all the reserve guys, I was active duty, so I was there as long as they needed me. But all the reserve bubbas had to go back home for jobs and stuff. So this 53D they're picking up actually started from Alameda, was in Tustin waiting for us, and couldn't get fixed in time. So it was one helicopter pilot that left to fly, and he was a former HMX-1 guy. I can't remember his name, but he was a redheaded guy, actually was a presidential pilot. I mean, flew the White Hats. Guy, a really sharp pilot.
Okay.
And he stayed behind to fly, but he needed a co-pilot. So anybody with wings, hey, so I volunteered to hang out.
You didn't have to be NATOPS qualified?
No.
Kidding.
No. I wasn't NATOPS qualified anything. I flew in Afghanistan.
I figured that's because you were the HMFIC over there.
No, not really. So. I mean, so Marine Corps is has been pretty lax, but I say lax, but pretty broad about that. Anyway, so I was asked, hey, Lawman, you want to stay and fly this 53? I said, yeah, coast to coast, cross country, the helicopter, sign me up. So we actually got to Tustin, picked, and then, the ADBs were this thick, airplane been down forever, spin tach forever. I was a little bit nervous about that. It was a piece of shit 53D, but you could pump hydraulic fluid into it in flight. And occasionally the crew chief would be pumping hide fluid into the airplane. We took off out of there, went to Tucson, and I remember I had a little bit of a problem. And I remember the pilot, who's an HMX guy, said, "Hey, we got a problem. We'll just land in the desert. No big deal, right?" So we flew all the way across the country, 2.5 days. It took us 2.5 days to fly from California to Philadelphia. All right, wow. 2 RONs with kind of a broken helicopter. It had one radio, no tack in, no navigational aids. It was all sectionals, pick up water towers and towns, and dead reckoning all the way to Philadelphia. We got to DC though. He canceled, and he knew the lingo with ATC, and he gave me the presidential tour down the Potomac. He knew he basically passed himself off as an HMX guy in this helicopter, and he gave me quite the tour. It was pretty impressive. Jocko, his call sign was Jocko.
Jocko, okay.
Jocko, anyway. He was
Jocko, I hope the statute of limitations is up.
Yeah, Jocko's up. He did, I got to admit, some pretty ballsy flying down the Potomac in this 53 Delta. Anyway, so years later, I'm back on the Mew with these helo guys, and they're talking about this long fly off the boat to get to, I can't remember where we're going, somewhere in Kenya or something like that, and how long it would take them and fit air refilling. So I stood up in the radio and go, "Hey guys, here's my theory. Having flown a helicopter from coast to coast, California to Philadelphia, I think it'd be faster if you just picked up into a hover and hovered over the ship and let the Earth rotate below you. I think you would get there faster. The Earth's rotation is faster than
it's 1,000 knots.
Helicopter actually flying through the air mass. That's my theory. What do you think?" They didn't go over very well.
Oh, man. Nice. Well, you used to be... Oh, yeah, thanks, there. Thanks for sharing this.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, I got to take it down now. Sorry.
Yeah. Where the hell is that? Is that from that air show, that British guy?
That may be.
Honestly, it looks familiar. It seems like it.
Yeah, it looks like the Brit that ejected engine failure on a waterfront air show. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then here's the one that Deuce sent me of a T6.
Let me set this up.
Sitting on its
going
belly.
down to Mobile for Chicken's retirement and flying commercial and just bounced it into Pensacola Regional Airport. Just credited with three touch and goes into full stop. And the guy next to me says, "Wow, that's the worst landing I've had in whatever." We're sitting. I'm in 12F. And I look out the window. And it's not the worst landing of the day at Pensacola Regional. Wow! I don't know. I can't see what y'all are looking at, but there's a T6 saving wear on the tires, wheels fully in the well, to get dragged across the ramp. I was like, well, it's a lot of memories going back to that area.
They'll be able to reuse those tires.
An intentional
cost savings.
Yeah.
But that was, oh man. And I'm looking around, I'm looking for like Texas Field and stuff. I'm looking out the window. I'm like, I can't tell. And then I saw north and south whiting. I was like, oh, I know exactly where I am. I got a stress headache. My blood pressure went up 20 points. It was magical. I was really,
well, that's what's funny about that is, so I had a classmate or a shipmate of mine who was also another coastie, had a wheels up landing like that when he was in the T-34, and they were doing a Happle to a Lapple. And of course, his last name.
Can't tell what that is.
Okay, so that's the high altitude power loss into a low altitude power loss. So it's part of that whole emergency procedure thing that we do. In either case, what was his last name? Bashwinger. You can't make.
No
could not make
kidding.
that up.
Oh,
yeah, no
man.
shit. That was his name. So, but
wow.
It's the same as your
and it's shit happens,
yeah. Well.
But it's just not your day.
Yeah.
No kidding.
But,
oh man.
Remember the story, I think it was an Approach magazine years ago, about Chuck and a T-34 student pilot at night on a 9-instrument sortie out of Whitingfield?
Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah. Go ahead, Lawman. You tell it better than me.
If I get it right, this guy, he was a solo night instrument flight I can't remember, Marine or Navy, and he takes off and he's going to go, Pensacola and do multiple instrument approaches and then go back to Whiting Field. But when he checked in with approach control, he couldn't remember his call sign, Navy, whatever, Lima 5, so he couldn't remember his call sign. So he goes, what the heck? He goes, well, hey, this is Chuck. Chuck, I'm at 2,500 feet, 10 miles south of the airfield. I need vectors for multiple PARs. And there's a pause. All right, Chuck. And come left the heading of 090 and descend to maintain 1,500 feet. So they gave him an invented approach, runway heading, whatever. So Chuck did multiple passes that night. And then finally on his last pass, he checks in, he looks out on the wing, and he sees there's your call sign is painted on top of the wing, right? The T-34, the number, right? It's the tail number. He looks out and he goes, oh, there it is. He goes, hey, this is Navy Lima 43, whatever it was. And there's a long pause again. They go, Chuck, is that you? Yeah, it's Chuck. Anyway.
Yep.
Funny stuff.
And then the other one was the guy going out there and keyed up the mic. He meant to talk on the intercom. Say to the instructor, oh, that last maneuver really fucked me up, sir. But he didn't. He did it on ATC. Come out, go, who's swearing on my frequency? The instructor wisely keys up the radio and goes, said he was fucked up, not stupid.
Yeah.
They also do air traffic controller training down there, right? Like
they do. Yeah, of all places, right?
Right. Because I remember, like, I'm getting 10 degree, I'm doing some PAR or something, I'm getting 10-degree corrections, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally cocking this up. Like, I can't believe how bad I am at this. And then the controller's voice changes, and I was like, oh, problems on the other end of the radio. Okay, better. I'm not as bad at this as I think I am.
Yeah,
you're gonna have a bunch of idiots rolling around at 150 knots. What you need is new guys helping them. That's
exactly. Yeah, it's a bad combination.
I just thought of something though when you started talking about those stories. So the one about the student saying I'm effed up and the instructor going saying he said he was fucked up, not stupid, is kind of urban legend. It probably happened, but I know one that happened for a fact because the guy that with which it happened was none other than astronaut Dave Brown. And he was in T2s and they were out in the working area and he was on his very first T2 ride and the instructor is showing him around all the working areas around Beeville, Texas. But instead of talking on the intercom, he's talking on the radio. And he's like, okay, he's got Dave flying the airplane. He's just talking to him from the back seat. He's like, okay, roll into a 30-degree left bank. That's it. Now you look down there, you see the Presidio, okay, and up a little bit to the north area, you see that ranch up there, and he's talking and talking and talking, and they go back and land, and there's like 4 other instructors going, damn it, all my students stopped what they were doing and rolled into a 30-degree left bank turn, and they're answering you, but they're on the intercom going, yeah, I see it. Oh, no, I don't see the ranch. Where's just go. You took control of like 4 airplanes out there today, dude.
This area familiarization flight is being delivered by God.
That's right.
Everyone look to the north. It's a chicken ranch.
That's right. Oh, man. Oh, fantastic stuff. Well, Bago, you're here. We haven't heard much from you tonight. You've got a bunch of flames coming out of your right ear. Yeah. So, yep. Nice background of an F-35.
You guys hear about the just announced 223 sundown?
We know it's in June,
ceremony.
But no other details yet.
Yeah, June 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
Okay.
With a ceremony on the 25th.
Okay. Nice. The show is planning to be there.
Yep.
So that should be fun. Sticks, make a hole in your schedule. Come with.
Okay.
So.
Well, you know what we need to do is we need to get that banner that we made up into a big ass banner to put up and give to them.
There you go.
Yeah. Sick.
Absolutely. So, all right. Sticks, you can stay with Lawman. Who's your buddy, Ben? Oh, all right. Holy cow.
I got a question for either RePete, Lawman. I don't know if Fig is still here.
Fig did bag out. I was going to say that he had to bag out and go put some ice on his forehead where he tried to break his trailer earlier today with it. So didn't have a sledgehammer handy, so he tried to use his forehead to break his trailer.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
Can a Harrier land up in our area, I-93?
Oh yeah.
Could it? So it could take the weight. FOD would be the biggest problem.
FOD, and then depending on the section of the highway, it's more common up here in New England and up north to have asphalt. There are places down in the south, obviously, that have concrete interstate. Yeah. But anywhere there's concrete, you're okay. But you will melt the asphalt even at idle if you put your nozzles down. I left what we called a Harrier kiss on the ramp at the Lebanon airport at the Lebanon, New Hampshire Air Show in 1994. I was up there. I was trying to move the airplane forward. I put the nozzles down for, 8 or 10 seconds, got out, and there were two big old spots that were nice and rough where the heat from the hot section.
Your
just at idle
consists of a raft, a first aid kit, and a bag of cold patch.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, we would do what we call a rolling vertical landing, which is, you could do it at any speed. 5 knots was enough, but generally speaking, our standard was about 35 knots forward speed for touchdown. And that was enough to keep FOD from coming into the engine and from destroying the asphalt. But we did road ops all the time. Yeah. Lawman, do you remember 27 feet between outriggers?
So that sounds about right. Yeah. Lyman road ops, which is pretty. Yeah. That was pretty hairy sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was because there were 100-foot pine trees on either side of the road within 15 feet of the shoulder.
And get your attention. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And in fact, we had OB on that show. Boy, that's like show 12 or something. He had one hook on the wheel was his show. And OB lost his left arm and his left leg in a Lyman Road crash. So, yeah, bad situation. But he's gone on. They didn't let it slow him down a bit. So,
yeah, it's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I even prayed down Lyman Road. Lyman Road made me nervous. Even my time in the jet towards the end, I was saying some prayers on Lyman Road, saying, you don't screw this up because it'll bite you.
Yeah.
Get your attention. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. All right. Well, I'm thinking we're a little bit over an hour here. We probably ought to just land the airplane, say our thank yous to everybody. I can't tell you how much I appreciate every one of you showing up and spending some time with us tonight. For those of you listening, we're deeply grateful. Particularly those of you who are either active duty or veterans. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice to make this country a better place. It's deeply appreciated. And pass along our gratitude to your families who also sacrifice, the unthanked ones who sacrifice that allows you to do your job. We're deeply appreciative of that. And a couple other thank yous we need to get in there. Sticks, what do you think?
So we need to thank Badass from BDS Aviation Photography because he lets us use all of those fantastic pictures and images, and it just makes us look like we're vaguely professional.
Exactly. So he actually texted me tonight. He says he couldn't get on the Zoom with his phone. So he's watching us on YouTube as we're doing this from right outside the Cherry Point gates. And so thank you, Badass, for tuning in. Even if you couldn't come on, we appreciate you for everything you do for us. It's over and above, and we're grateful for it. We need to thank Dave Hamilton over at backbeatmedia.com, who provides us with advertising and the technical know-how to get this show from us to you. And if you like what you're hearing, maybe you could share the show or, I don't know, give us a rating. What do you think, Sticks? How would one give us a rating?
So you can go to /rate.
Well, .us/rate.
.us/rate, and you can leave us a 5-star rating. Not a 4-star or 3, but we want 5.
You leave us 3 stars or 2 stars, we're going to hunt you down and thump your head off of Fig's tailgate so you can be his twin.
Actually,
disciplinary trailer.
Yeah.
Send us an email. We'll improve. We're trainable.
There you go. We are trainable. Give us constructive criticism.
Coast Guard's been training the Marines for a long time.
Exactly. There you go. All right. The last one is we got a merch store. If you want a cool T-shirt, a cool hat, a beach towel, or even, God forbid, a bikini, go get one. Now, wait a minute. Hold on. Lawman, how's it look? How's that bikini look?
Well,
it
looks much better on my
super
wife than it would
comfortable.
on you there, RePete.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, I mean, so your wife has one. How's it look?
Yeah, it looks great on her.
Fit, quality and quantity. All right, good stuff. All right, so that's fantastic. Yeah, Lawman's wife is one of the few who has gotten the bikini. So thank you very much for that support. We're grateful for that.
You know, it's good to know that my artwork is sitting on somebody's boobs.
In other areas, yeah.
That's certainly one way to look at it. And other areas, exactly.
Yep.
So, too funny. Whoop, hang on. Let's get that down to a more tolerable level. Sorry about that. And lastly, but not leastly, that pleasant tune that you're hearing in the background comes from who, Sticks?
Dos Gringos.
The Dos Gringos. Absolutely.
We're
grateful to them.
Those
Two
two
F-16
dudes.
pilots who make the Air Force sound great. Without them, we wouldn't have anything but a bunch of garage band crap coming at you. Instead, we've got these guys who produced 4 albums with not a bad song in the bunch, and we're grateful to them that they are kind enough to let us use their music every week as a theme song. So, until next week, everybody, I don't know what to say. Don't sit on the collective. Don't sit on the ejection seat handle. Stay safe and check 6.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
It's over! It's over? Oh, no.
It's our intro. It's the outro.
Okay, I didn't ask for your life story.